Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on Computational Science Challenge Grant. My name is Rachel Best. I'm with the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. I'm happy to be able to provide moderation. We're going to go through some housekeeping sort of skills with this WebEx platform to make sure that we get the most out of this time and out of this webinar. Couple housekeeping tips. If everybody could please go ahead and mute their phone or cell phone. You can generally do that by either pushing the button that has like a little microphone with a slash through it, or going to your settings, your audio settings. That just makes it easier for everybody to hear. And at the end of the webinar, we will take you guys off of mute, and we can do a question and answer session. Regarding questions and answers, we want this to be an interactive event, so feel free to go ahead and chat questions. You'll see the chat function at the bottom right of your screen right now. You can chat myself, or actually if you could just chat myself or Greg Kabinski with any questions that you may have. We'll be happy to interject and let Jay, who is our speaker today, know that there's questions from the crowd. You can also go ahead and ask any questions or comments through Twitter. Our hashtag is HPCWIS. I've put that out there in the chat, so you should be able to see that. And feel free to ask questions that way as well. All right. If there's any other questions, please let me know by the chat function. All right. I'm going to go ahead and pass the ball over to Jay, who will be our speaker today, and introduce himself. Here you go, Jay.
Thank you, Rachel. Good morning, everybody. I am privileged to speak on behalf of the Milwaukee Institute, its staff, at least two of whom are with me today, Greg Gabinski and Nick Lindberg, and to speak on behalf of the two sponsors of our challenge grant, that is WEDC and Mason Wells. So we won't speak too much about the organizational pieces of this. The objectives this morning is to make sure that those of you who are listening in can understand the RFP, the request for proposal, and what we're looking for in any applications you may generate in response to that RFP. So this is really focused on that application process. We've sprinkled in a few other things, including who we are and what our computational resources look like at 50,000 feet. But if you have technical questions, we'd be happy to answer them, but probably the best forum for that is for you to send us some email or call us, and we'll make sure you have the numbers and the links for both of those. So with that little introduction, I've got the slideshow that I've put together on behalf of this conversation up at this point, and if you have questions as we go through this, following Rachel's advice, if you would chat to Rachel or use your Twitter feed, Twitter account to do so, we'll be happy to try to answer them on as we go, or more likely to collect up the questions and answer them at the Q&A at the end of this. This presentation is about 15 minutes at the outset, if there are no questions, and again, we're available after this webinar to answer questions that may crop up as you think about the process. Again, my name is Jay Bain. I am the Executive Director of the Milwaukee Institute, and we are a 7-year-old nonprofit research foundation that is dedicated to advancing technology in economic and workforce development arenas in southeast Wisconsin, and our programs have actually become interested to people all over the state, and in some cases outside the state. So we'll be a little more specific about that as I go forward. So in context here, there are three of us who have decided to join forces to provide funding and support for these computational challenge grants. And our goal here is to assist small to medium companies in the region with adopting computational systems as a means to improve and accelerate their innovation activities, their engineering, research, and development activities, through the use of modeling and simulation as a way of doing first principles design work, or big data analytics, that is, for those of us in the techno-speak area, that's in silico discovery processes. And we don't make any presumptions about what type of computational science is needed by our customers. We try to help them identify both the approach to solving some problems as well as the computational hardware, software, and technical support or professional services needed to actually use the technology. A little bit about the Institute. Again, we're going on in years now. We've been around since 2007. We've offered high-performance computing systems and services since that time. And our basic perspective is that scale economics matters. That is, the availability of shared regional high-performance technical computing systems and services is a means to improving the industrial performance of the region. It's a bit like the advent of cloud computing in administrative applications. We are, in a sense, a cloud technical computing resource, but as a nonprofit, our cost structure is significantly lower than commercial organizations. And we're doing that because we are very interested, again, in economic and workforce development activities. Furthermore, we're focused on helping the region develop some synergies, including public-private partnerships, in application areas or industry clusters. As you'll note, if you visit our website, we have the privilege of participating with the Water Council in that cluster, with the Energy Research Consortium in the power production distribution area, with the Security Research Consortium, which is focused on security, obviously, and in others. So we actually are looking forward to supporting collaboration among academic and commercial and governmental agencies that want to contribute their respective resources to solving what we think of as grand challenge problems. Grand challenge problems are problems which fundamentally require multidisciplinary and often multi-organizational contributions. And that's important for a number of reasons, and the least of which is that federal funding agencies are very keen on supporting collaborative efforts rather than individual efforts. So to the degree that collaborative efforts require shared computation, it's very difficult for any given organization to open up their firewalls and what have you to share their computational resources. We're out in what we call cyberspatial Switzerland. We're in neutral territory, so collaboration can take place on our platforms rather than forcing individual institutions to go through the fire drill of trying to figure out how to share their resources. Last but not least, it's a keen interest of ours to help improve the workforce in southeast Wisconsin and throughout the state, and by improving the number of scientists and engineers that are competent with this technology. We have traditionally recognized what certainly the Journal Sentinel and others have said is a brain drain in Wisconsin. Folks who graduate from our academic institutions tend to find the airport first and leave for one coast or another because there aren't a lot of jobs in the space that qualify as quote-unquote high technology jobs. So the more we can help engineers and scientists become competent with this technology, the more likely we'll we'll develop centers of excellence to apply it in places such as biosciences, computational fluid dynamics, and other applications. The Institute, its mission is in this matrix you see here. The central 3x3 set of cells is a graphical way, if you will, of describing our mission statement. I highlight the two central red cells because this challenge grant opportunity is supportive of those two missions in particular. And that doesn't mean that we're not interested in things other than bioscience or advanced manufacturing. There's many, many other types of applications where we have the privilege of working with clients, financial systems modeling and other things. But these are just simply a way of highlighting that this program is in the central column, the public-private partnerships, and we're acting along the two swim lanes as a provider and a researcher ourselves. And I think you will find perhaps other interest on yourselves for other cells, but these two cells really underwrote the proposal we wrote to WEDC a year ago, which has culminated in this financial grant, which comes from both WEDC and Mason Wells. So the problem domains that we're interested in assisting with, to oversimplify the world, we'll break it in half, includes basically using our technology to do modeling and simulation, and in the second case, in silico discovery. Modeling and simulation is really the application of computational science based on first principles. Either it's computational chemistry, computational biology, genomics, epigenomics, science and engineering activities which are ostensibly related to natural and synthetic systems, synthetic systems being those things that we humans build, and the understanding of those systems, their behavior and their design elements and so on. In silico discovery is a relatively new research area, and it's leaving pure research now and becoming part of the applied world. It's often referred to as big data analytics, and respects the fact that many companies have been producing very large databases over their history, typically filled with retail transactions, with medical health care records and other things, and recognizing that in those historical databases is a wealth of information that has yet to be mined, and that there are analytics tools, mathematical principles, statistics, and so on that, if applied correctly, could facilitate the mining of that data and could improve either their commercial performance or their security or any number of other things. There's science behind both of these, computational science behind both of these areas, and I think that that science and the volume of information and the speed with which it needs to be processed requires a higher degree of computational resources than are typical in most organizations. Again, as a technical cloud provider, we're focused very keenly on supporting that kind of work. For those of you that may not be participating in this webinar with the ability to see these slides, we will post these following this webinar, and you'll be able to download them and hopefully recall some of my comments, and we'll be happy to talk with you more about it afterwards. The current slide is just sort of a representation of what we've managed to accomplish over the last 7 years in terms of our what we call MGRID memberships. MGRID is the Milwaukee Metropolitan Grid. It's a kind of a techie name for our computing systems, the networks that we have, our storage systems, and a membership provides privileges, which includes access to the resources, newsletters, et cetera, et cetera. The important thing to note, I think, on this page, if you're able to see it, is the members range all over the map. I mean, there isn't any clustering that I would argue is obvious in the list, and I didn't count it. I think there's some 30 members, and they range from manufacturing companies to academic institutions, investment organizations, law firms, and a number of incubators to support new business development. In addition to the memberships, we have technology partners, organizations, commercial organizations, with whom we have relationships and from whom we acquire technology. And that list is growing as we go forward, but I think you'll notice if you see the list that several of them are focused on technical computing software, modeling and simulation software, ANSYS, IBM, MathWorks, Wolfram Research, and so we support on our computational systems a number of application packages which are particularly strong in certain classes of analytic software. This slide, for those that can see it, are the Institute staff that are available to answer questions and support your projects if you submit an application and are fortunate to get an award. And we look forward to speaking with you in any event to help you with both your application and, if awarded, with helping you with implementing a solution. I'll quickly mention the names. Myself, Jonathan Gladio, who's our Director of Operations, Greg Gabinski, who's our Director of Business Development, and Nick Lindberg, who's the Director of Engineering here. Also on this page, you'll note that there are 2 email addresses to whom you can address general questions or information inquiries about the Institute itself, and there's a second email address, grants@mkei.org, which is dedicated to correspondence related specifically to these challenge grants. So let's get started. How do you apply for a grant, assuming that you have a sense of interest that warrants you taking the time to actually make an application, or, if you will, a response to the RFP? It's really quite straightforward. The first thing to do is to visit our website at mkei.org, and on the home page, on the right-hand side, you'll see in red a link to the RFP. You click on that link, and what appears next is a registration page where we ask for your name, your affiliation, your address, phone, basic information so we know how to contact you. Once you fill that in and submit it, automatically you'll get a PDF download, which is the RFP. That RFP is several pages. It's contains an introduction to the program. It contains instructions for how to apply, and for the next few slides, I'm going to briskly go through the major requests that RFP puts on applicants, and provides an overview of the process. The first thing to notice, I think the most important thing on the next slide on the left you'll see in red, is the due date. That due date, the RFP is open until January 31 at a minute before midnight. So you have essentially a month and a half to develop a proposal. And during that period, we are available, perhaps with the exception of Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, to help you with any questions or any concerns you might have about how to apply. And so using the contact information I provided before, we look forward to hearing from you. There is some formatting that we ask you to adhere to, because you can imagine if we've sent out well over 2,000 invitations to apply throughout the state. I think it's probably closer to 3,000 now. And you can imagine if everybody decides to apply, that our process for reviewing these grant applications would be pretty onerous. So we ask that you help us by structuring it and along the formatting lines outlined here. 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, 1-inch margins, 11-point font, you know, the standard sorts of things. It's pretty free form inside of that. That is what you say and how you say it, but at least if we know the organization in advance, we'll be able to review these proposals more efficiently. In addition to that, there's a general organization of the proposal itself. Section 1, we call that Section 1, we'd like to know your organization, whether you're a startup, whether you're a small or medium-sized organization, who the point of contact is, the project manager for this project, and that person's contact information, the organization's website, what type of organization you are, whether you're a .com or a .edu or a .org, whether you're public, whether you're private. This information is important to us for two reasons. One, part of the requirement of the Economic Development Corporation is to support new business and small business development. It's one of their objectives, and so in order to know whether we're selecting the right kinds of companies with the right kinds of projects, so we can report to WEDC, we need to know that information. There's some other items there which you can add as required. The project description is probably the most important component of your application, and we've asked for 6 specific things under the heading of project description. What is the challenge project description, obviously, and that's from your perspective, not from ours. That is, what challenging computational issues are you facing, and how would you like to address them? The second item is justification for computational systems and services assistance from us. You may have some very strong scientists, engineers, software developers in-house, and may not need much assistance from us from a professional service point of view, but you would like access to the hardware. Others may have hardware but want professional services, and others may want both. So we need to try to size the request you're making with that one. For your staff that requires access to our computational systems, we obviously have to generate credentials so that they can log in and use the system. So
this is sounding like it's something different.
I'm sorry, I think I heard a question there somewhere.
I think somebody might have accidentally taken their phone off of mic, so we can just go ahead and continue.
Okay. So a list of your project staff that need access to the system here. Estimated amount of compute time, if you can figure out what that is. Estimated amount of technical support time, if you can estimate that. We expect that these are estimates, and as the projects unfold, that we'll both learn about how much is really required and at what point in time. And last but not least, we'd like to see the project plan in terms of a Gantt chart. That is, we'd like you to identify for us by calendar quarter what your major milestones and deliverables are so that we can plan how our resources are applied to your needs. A greater level of detail, if you know your software requirements, it would help us immensely. And so we'd like a list of your own licensed analytics applications and tools, either the ones you have in-house or ones you may desire. A number of our customers actually have their own licenses for analytics tools, and part of our activity is to work with your vendor to allow your tools to be hosted on our cluster so that you have access to them, sole access to them. We'd also like a list of whatever open source analytics applications you either use or would desire. And in both cases, we can help you with selecting tools that are appropriate for your needs and that are consistent with our platform. For those of you that are technical, our platform is a Linux-based environment. It's not a Microsoft Word-based environment. This is typical of high-performance / supercomputer systems. So there are some constraints, obviously, on what kinds of applications can be hosted. Additionally, we'd like to know if you know what your data storage requirements are. Our cluster has well over 160 terabytes of storage, so we're not limited in that respect unless you decide to bring the Library of Congress and all the genomics data in the world to our site. But we do need to figure out as well as we can in advance how to divvy up a subset of our storage to the awardees of this program. And the storage requirements generally fall in two categories. It's the estimated amount of storage needed to hold your raw data, your input data, and the second is the estimated amount of storage that is required once your analytics work is done for the output that is produced. And to the degree that those data sets are to be saved, either because they are used sequentially in different runs of the application, or because during the project you're not sure what to keep or what to throw away, it just helps us to know how to manage our storage resources. Again, in both these latter cases, software requirements and storage requirements, we're here to help try to do that estimate for you. So if you're successful in getting through the application, you think you've got a compelling argument, the last thing we'd be interested in knowing, and I think this is true for all of the partners, the funding partners in this, is what you think the commercial benefits of this work will be. And I give you some examples on page 11 here. Things such as shortening your engineering research and development time so you can get products or services to market quicker. Minimizing your capital expense, so now you don't have to buy high-performance computers, you can simply use them. Improving the product or service's quality because you've done a good job of modeling and simulating its performance, and you know better the design parameters now. Secondarily, there should be some technical benefits, not just commercial benefits. And by technical benefits, we're encouraging to think about new knowledge creation that's useful for you and intellectual property, improved systems and software infrastructure for your organization, and improved requirements, that is use case capture, so that you can improve the design process early on and avoid doing a lot of prototyping work because you let the models and the simulations run the bugs out of the system early. In this case, there's a pretty compelling example that has occurred in our support of customers in the manufacturing space. Traditionally, they've built 2, 3, 4 prototypes of a physical device, a valve or an electronics cabinet, and they test it. They either test it in a thermal chamber or they test it by vibrating it or what have you. And then they go fix it, and they try it again, and they fix it, and they try it again. When products and services get complicated, that's a long iterative process. If you can establish a functional model of the system and do the thermodynamic testing in silico, that is in a computer, it really shortens the time and improves the design. The poster child example for that is Boeing's recent development of the 777 Dreamliner. They designed, implemented, and flew that machine in a computer long before they laid the first wing, and it got them to market faster, and it improved the designs, and so on and so forth. That is perhaps the single major reason why high-performance computing modeling and simulation is a key element of modern manufacturing environments. And since Wisconsin has approximately a third of its GDP coming from advanced manufacturing, you can understand why the Institute, WEDC, Mason Wells are interested in assisting companies in using this technology. Last but not least, as we said earlier, we're very interested in workforce development benefits. That is, improving your staff skills, improving technology transfer between, let's say, academic and commercial organizations, developing reusable marketing, sales demonstrations, and so on. That last point may seem a little distant from the core of our mission, that is technical computing, but we've had the privilege of supporting at least 2 companies whose reason for using our system is high-definition animation of their products and services. That is, they're doing rendering work on our high-performance computer system to create high-fidelity movies of complex systems. So it's not just the design activity that benefits from having access to these resources. It's also the optics, that is, the imaging and the demonstration capabilities that come from high-definition modeling. So in our evaluation of your proposals, this category of items that we are asking you is really critical for us to understand the value you place on this work, not just the value we place on this work. So we really encourage you to spend some thoughtful moments on this section. We're not looking for volume. It's not the number of words you put in here. It's what you say to us about how you think this Challenge Grant Award would benefit you in these areas. There's a footnote at the bottom of the page I want to call your attention to. It reads, for those of you that can't see the page, please do not include in your proposal any information that you consider proprietary or designated as intellectual property. One of the principles of the Milwaukee Institute is that we have no desire for your intellectual property. And we are happy to actually sign contracts with that as a stipulation. What we are encouraging you to do is use our resources to create proprietary designs and your own intellectual property. And as a consequence, you telling us those things in a proposal would put us in an awkward spot, because now we'd have to declare that we do know it, but we honestly won't tell anybody. I'd rather not have to tell anybody that. More importantly, we believe that an award of this nature will help you create it. So there's no point in trying to anticipate what you may or may not create over the course of the grant period. In any event, we just call your attention to the fact that it's not necessary, and we will not evaluate proposals based on proprietary information or intellectual property. We would like to hear from you, though, in the expected benefits section that access to our resources will help you with the creation of proprietary or intellectual property assets. And as a last point, the evaluation requirement will include completeness of your proposal, your justification for need, the scope of the proposal project, expected benefits, and longer-term potential of innovations. A few words about the project funding and timing. We are looking for, at minimum, 5 proposals to make awards to, up to $50,000 worth of computational time and professional services. Your proposal might not require a 12-month period, which is the period we've allocated for this activity. Your proposal may not require the full complement of $50,000 worth of computational time and services. If that's the case, if we get some compelling proposals that are maybe 1 quarter long and require, let's say, $25,000 worth of support, estimated support, then we, instead of having just 5 proposals, we may have 6 or 7 or 8. So the 5 number is not a hard number. It's that for us, it's the minimum number of projects that we anticipate supporting in the period from a project start to a project end, which is nominally 12 months. Since the proposals are due on nominally February 1, January 31, we will evaluate all proposals received during the month of February, and we will make announcements of awards no later than the end of February. We're going to target the middle of the month if we can get through the review process. And we will, to the degree that we're doing the reviews and we have questions, we may contact you so that we are clear about what your objectives are and so on. But you can anticipate that on or about February 1st, we will make an announcement as to the award winners. Projects can begin immediately thereafter, and they will unfold, at least initially, according to the project plan that you submitted. And again, we anticipate that as your project unfolds, you will learn some things and want to adjust your project, and so that project plans will be somewhat living documents, but that we are committed, we the Institute are committed to reporting to our partners, WEDC and Mason Wells, on a quarterly basis, that is 4 times over the project period, as to your performance and your results and the status of the projects. So that's, in a nutshell, the overview. From a technical point of view, for those of you that want to see the picture of things, there's the next slide is how you will access our computational systems. We assume you will have at least 1 client workstation and 1 engineer or scientist that's sitting at that workstation. And through the internet and a secure login, that workstation can gain access to our HPC cluster. And the amount of resource you require in that cluster will depend on the job you're running and the granularity of the model or the simulation you're using. We have specifications for the capacity of the cluster. You can find that on our website. In a nutshell, there are several different computing systems. We can treat allocate a single core to an application, or hundreds of cores to an application, depending on the computational throughput you require. And again, back to the storage requirement, we've got a significant amount of storage. In any event, each client, let's say there are 5 awardees, each awardee has secure access to the cluster, and your engagement with the cluster is as though it's your own machine. There is no leakage between one project and another, and that's how we help you maintain isolation of whatever development activities you're working on. I'm sure there are many more questions about the technical matter here. We'll be happy to discuss that with you as you require. So we've now landed on the final page, which is the question and answer page. And as Rachel mentioned early on, we'll open up the chat and phone lines, and we'll do our best to answer questions you have while we have your attention. Thank you very much.
Yep. Hi, so this is Rachel again, your moderator. I do have a question for you, Jay, from Benjamin. For analytics, if a client does not have an analytics application or tool, do you have them available to rent? He's thinking of some of his small clients, and if you want to elaborate, if I didn't accurately say that, feel free to chime in, Benjamin.
The simple answer is yes, Benjamin. We have analytic tools. Whether they are the right ones for your application is a conversation we need to have. There are many excellent tools that are open source. The good news is that they're available on the web. They may not be on our system at the moment, but we will certainly work with you to try to get them onto the system if they're correct. We also have some very powerful licensed program products which you can have access to. There may be a fee associated with that access, and the funding that we provide in the grants will in part cover those fees, but they obviously depend on what your usage is. You may run one analytics application and be done, or like some of our users, you may run 8,000 jobs a week, and you do that for the entire period of the grant. So there's a wide range of consumption of resources, and that includes these applications.
Great. It sounds like we answered his question. Just a reminder to everybody, there's 3 ways you can ask questions during this webinar. You can feel free to chat me in the bottom right-hand corner, Rachel Best. You can go ahead and tweet us with the hashtag that I provided earlier, or feel free to unmute your phone and chime in. Are there any other questions at this time? All right.
Rachel, I would
I do have a question.
Okay.
Sorry. When the grant is complete, if your project is not complete, how is that handled? Is there resources available then to purchase? If so, is there some kind of fee structure for that? How do you go about, how would that be addressed?
Good question. The answer is if a project runs past the 12-month window that is part of it, and there are unused funds from the grant, we will continue to support the project under the grant. If the grant funding has been exhausted either before the 12 months or at the 12-month window, we will be happy to work with you to find a mechanism which supports you beyond the end. We do have a fee structure. It's published in our on our website in our terms and conditions. We also negotiate depending on the number of core hours and the number of storage units you need. We can negotiate a relationship, but there is a fee structure. And just so that all the listeners know, this grant is the funding for this grant are based on a reduced fee structure from what our normal terms and conditions are, meaning there's more capacity in the grant funds, if you will, than would be normally under a commercial agreement.
Great question. I think it's important to ask questions if you feel comfortable with it, because if you're thinking the question, there's probably somebody else thinking the question. Any other thoughts or comments or questions for Jay? One of the other options, too, is if you're not comfortable asking your question in the private forum, or if you're watching this eventually recorded, please feel free to submit questions to the email address that you see on the screen, grants@mkei.org, and they'll be happy to get back to you there as well. Oh, and I do just have another question, Jay. Can the grant be used for a physical pilot plant that would be operated in conjunction with computation? Also, does the grant allow partnering with international firms? So, two-part question.
Both good questions. The grant may be used in conjunction with the development of a physical process, yes. Whether it's a process control application or it's a modeling and simulation application. The grant cannot be used, however, for clients that are actually delivering a service to somebody else. That is, we cannot be resold, if you will, as part of a service. That's because we are a nonprofit and we have certain IRS constraints that we must meet. But as long as we are involved in an activity for a customer that is in their engineering, research, and development domain, the question, there really are no constraints other than if it's a physical process for which the computational system has to get input from it. There may be some systems integration questions that we have to ask and answer. But in general, we support physical machinery as well. As far as the foreign partnership, as long as we are working with a company, a Wisconsin company, their relationship with foreign organizations is, for the most part, not of concern to us, as long as they are registered. The Wisconsin company, are registered as with the Wisconsin Department of Financial Institutions. The funding that we're getting from WEDC obviously is a Wisconsin tax-based funding, and so there are certain constraints. But I think it's important that in the application, the relationship with other parties is declared. But our relationship will be with the Wisconsin company.
All right. Does that answer your question, Jude? All right. I'm going to assume yes. Does anybody else have any questions? Sounds good. So again, some of the next steps, just to summarize some of Jay's comments, are that you can definitely go and find all this information on their website, which is listed below there, including the RFP and all the forms and the process and things like that. From all my experience with them just over the last week, they've been extremely helpful with explaining things and responsive, so I imagine they would be exactly the same with you. And that email is found right there at the bottom, the grants@mkei.org. Additionally, we did record this webinar, so we'll be sending that link to all participants that have registered, and that will also be available live on their website sometimes in the next 24 hours as well. Anything else? All right. Well, I want to thank Jay and the Milwaukee Institute and Mason Wells for the time today and their support of this project. Thank you, everybody else, for your time today and the great questions. We hope that this turns out to be a great experience for you, and feel free to contact us if you have any questions. Thanks again, everyone.